Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. This is the weekend rotation. We've got the OGs here today. I'm joined by Alex Day, Jake McKeever, Noah Darling, AJ Sessions. How we doing, fellas? It feels like a second week of college baseball. We're into this here.
Yeah, man, it was a great week of games. It was a lot of fun, and looking forward to more.
Absolutely. Also, folks, don't forget Home Field Apparels. Go find them. Homefieldapparels.com. They got all your fan gear. CBC 15 to get 15% off your first order there. Go in, go buy all your stuff. You got hats, they got sweatshirts, they got clothes. Go buy all your crap. It's great stuff. Go find all that merch, all right? Quit wearing crap to the baseball fields. Go buy good stuff. Home Field Apparel makes good stuff. All right, Jake, you know what? I'm going to start with you since my biggest thing of the week was Loomis and the Portland Pilots beating Texas A&M. How are you feeling after this one? How are you feeling this weekend? What's your big reactions?
Well, first off, I think that if it's a Jake team that wears maroon, if you didn't follow college baseball yesterday, you could just assume that they lost in embarrassing fashion. All three of my teams, Virginia Tech, A&M, and Mississippi State, lost in embarrassing fashion. I guess I'll start off with A&M. They're not having competitive at-bats from guys that they should be having competitive at-bats with. You know, Warner, Boast, Targosh, all batting under 200. And then that Jacob Palish role. I know that Nate Yeski kind of struggled to find that early in the season, and then Palish and New Minifree had great seasons down the stretch, but definitely missed Jacob Palish last night. And then Bryant, Virginia Tech. I'll be honest, I have no idea where Bryant is on a map. I couldn't tell you where that school is. It's directional school. It was early, ruined my day early. And then Mississippi State, Arizona State. Mississippi, they're gonna have to get a new coach. They are so bad. I know that they won the national championship 2 years ago, but they're not even competitive against teams that they should be beating. And it's just kind of like a repeat of last year. Like I think I saw that meme of that old guy with the collared shirt, where it's like Mississippi State fans expecting it to be different this year. They are terrible. I mean, they lack talent at a school that should never lack talent. And then the icing on the cake for a shitty Jake weekend is Texas won. It was absolutely terrible. They played like crap and then got bailed out on a Porter Brown home run. And all the Texas fans that are running my DM saying I called Texas suck. First off, Friday night, Lucas Gordon, that's about the only thing that Texas fans have. And they should win these games. So, let's see how the weekend plays out before you run your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of baseball still to play. I know that I've been all over the Ole Miss faithful, but I'm going to lay off a little bit today until Maryland kicks crap out of them again. Alex, what are you thinking down there? You guys, where are you at this weekend? Why don't you let the fans know?
Yeah, we're down in Round Rock, and so Jake and I were at the games yesterday, and it was a good showing by LSU. Paul Skeens went out and he struggled a little bit in the first inning. He had a couple of walks. Got a run across. Kansas State managed to get a run across, but man, he shut it down after that. Ended up going 6 innings, 11 Ks, giving up the 1 run and 2 walks. Another great day from Paul Skeens, and then Ty Floyd came back behind him and shut the door. And that was all she wrote for Kansas State. It'll be fun to see Brody Brucht against Iowa today against LSU. It'll be by far the best pitcher they face. So we'll see how that lineup responds.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of good baseball this weekend. But if you guys are down there, fans, if you guys are down there, go harass Alex and Jake. Go give them the business while they're down there. So, AJ, tell us about a little bit of what you thought about this weekend.
We did see some upsets this weekend. Illinois kind of handed it to Southern Miss, which is the first time Southern Miss pitching has really cracked. Florida State blew the doors off TCU 10-1. There were a couple of very close games. I think Noah probably wants to talk about North Carolina, East Carolina later. But I mean, my kind of anomaly of the day is Louisville beat Bowling Green, and you're like, yeah, what's special about that? The game was played in an hour and 46 minutes. It was lightning.
That is not a typical Louisville game, man. Their games seem to take forever. They always have those tight games that take fucking 3 hours. So it's interesting to see that they got through a game that fast. Noah, what are your takeaways from Friday?
Yeah, it's just like AJ said. I think East Carolina stole the show. It wasn't really that crazy of a game until about the 7th inning when East Carolina was just kind of able to turn it on and they went on a run and took the lead. It was really just a fantastic atmosphere, which you don't necessarily see this early around the country. That usually comes out around conference play. But here we are in week 2. The jungle was alive. It was kind of a weird deal to see the jungle full while there were still a lot of empty seats behind home plate. You don't see that in a lot of places where people love the outfield atmosphere more than they do in the infield. But those are the places that we call the best in college baseball. So I think we have to start talking about East Carolina being in that top 5 in terms of atmospheres.
We've been promoting East Carolina for a long time in this podcast. We love them. We think that they're terrific. Their fan base is awesome, and the atmosphere was really electric. I mean, it felt like a super regional last night. So another game that was one that caught my eye was Stanford at Rice, which would have been awesome in 2001. But it was a fun game last night there between Stanford and Rice. There was a lot of good baseball. Santa Barbara beats Oregon, Arizona State, like we mentioned, beating Mississippi State. That's a big deal there for Willie Bloomquist going on the road there and being able to win those games with this new transfer portal. They had a top transfer class of JCs coming in there and making that team a lot better. I know, Noah, you were all about these guys. What do you think about that Arizona State?
Yeah, I'm really excited because when college baseball is at its peak, Arizona State is a really, really good program. I'm a believer in what Willie Bloomquist is doing. I think that on paper, going into Duty Noble and winning a game and looking like they're going to be able to control the series is a really good look. This year, of course, they're a little bit down, but I think it's going to create a little bit momentum for them, just kind of ride it out. We'll see what they can do. Last year, I believed in this Arizona State team, and then they were just kind of hit and miss. This year, they're impressing me so far, so we'll see. I think if we want to talk about Arizona State being one of the better teams in the country, Ethan Long is going to be a name we're going to get to be really, really familiar with.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of talent there. I'm excited to see what this team does for the future here. One point of notice, I do have to say that Notre Dame actually did win a baseball game. They beat UNC Greensboro 6-5, so congrats to the little brother Notre Dame finally winning a baseball game. They've been terrible. I hate to see them win, so that was
Baseball
disappointing.
America is going to rank them number 2 now, right?
Yeah, they're going to be the number 2 team in the country from Baseball America because they don't watch games. They just look at box scores. So they're super happy that they saw the box score of Notre Dame winning so they can get their press passes up and get all their people. So, yeah, they're super pumped about that one. Oregon State, I'm going to mention, they were great. They actually looked good, but they were also playing Coppin State, so I'm not going to overshout that. I am going to say Gavin Turley hitting a home run again is really good for college baseball. It's really good for Oregon State. And
Mark, Coppin finished top 4 of their conference last year.
Well, then, and if it was Notre Dame, then Oregon State.
Yeah, they did. No, don't shake your head. There was only 4 teams in their conference, so they didn't finish top 4.
You are so quirky, Jake.
The MEAC baseball was arguably the worst conference of any major sport for baseball last year.
Oh, thanks for that tidbit, Jake. That helps. That really directs the traffic here for us. Missouri wins again, who a lot of people had in their top 25 this week for us. So that's really good to see that they're actually playing baseball and playing good baseball. And Florida beating Cincinnati, not really a big deal, but Florida winning games is a big deal with their front end pitching staff. So I'm really excited to see what's moving forward here. There's a lot of good college baseball today. What are we looking forward to most today? Alex, I'll start with you.
I'm just looking forward to seeing Birdie Brett. I'm looking forward to watching this kid. I mean, he was up to 100 last weekend. I can't wait to see triple digits on that scoreboard in the stadium. And I just want to see, how LSU hitters respond to something like that.
And that's Iowa's starting pitcher today?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting one there. AJ, what are you looking forward to today?
I want to see if UCLA can respond to their shutout loss against Vanderbilt. I think kind of going into this weekend, that was one of those series that I had circled, and Vanderbilt kind of just handled them yesterday, and it didn't really ever feel like much of a game. They didn't let UCLA into it. So I'm curious to see if UCLA can bounce back.
Yeah, I kind of glazed over that one because I was going to talk about it here in this segment. So I'm glad you brought that up because really Vanderbilt looked like a Vanderbilt team of old. They kind of just cruised through that game. They made it look really easy. They got runs by making any plays to get runs in, and they really didn't allow anything. UCLA's got to wake up. I know it's a long trip for them, but they got to wake up and play a little better today. So I'm excited for that one. Jake?
I'm going to go with the suspended game from last night, UCF Clemson. They were tied in the top of the ninth. So they're going to play I don't know if you can call it a doubleheader if it's a suspended game. It's like a game and a half. But I think Clemson is a lot of those teams that everybody around the country wants to be good, except for maybe AJ, that they want them to be back. And UCF is running into the Big 12, so they're kind of trying to build up their resume and get used to some of that Big 12 pitching as opposed to the AAC. So really excited to see how the coaching staff handles, one inning, do or die, and then as well the pitching staff on Saturday. And then the other thing is, that honestly that Sam Houston State Kansas State game is really going to be exciting to me as well, because Kansas State on paper should be a lot better, but Sam Houston had 14 hits last night. They bunted the ball really well. They played solid defense. Contreras actually looked pretty good. It was my first time seeing him in person since he kind of got that name notoriety and stood out in that lineup. And then Sam Houston State's catcher has an absolute cannon. He was one of the pleasant surprises last night as well.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Contreras is one of the top-rated outfielders in the country. He's on the Golden Spikes Award list. People don't really know about him that much because he's at Sam Houston State, but he's a really good ball player. So check him out today against Kansas State. Noah, what do you got today?
Yeah, game 2, Maryland, Ole Miss. Oxford going to be a little bit anxious to kind of see what that staff is going to look like. Big game in there. Maryland, of course, won last night in kind of blowout fashion. Surprised some people. I don't know if it surprised anybody in here, us brilliant baseball minds, but some people out there were definitely a little bit thrown off by that.
No, I think that we'll get to the pick 'em here in a little bit here, but I believe that all 5 of us picked Maryland, and America did not. So, America, you're wrong again. Just saying, we love our fans, but sometimes y'all are wrong. So, figure it out. We also don't know anything about Hunter Elliott and if he's going to be, he's seeking a second opinion on his arm. And we don't know anything about the Maui Ahuna and Tennessee Tony Vitello stuff, so we're not going to bring up any of that stuff other than just mentioning that it is out there in the college baseball atmosphere. Until we get more information,
good on you to not bring it up, Mark. Good on you to just not mention it at all.
I'm not going to disperse false knowledge. I'm not Fox News here, so I'm not going to give everybody fake news.
Who's starting for Tennessee with Maui out? I just haven't really been able to follow them.
Yeah, so we're just going to see what happens here until to come out. So.
Where's he from? We're just going to see what happens from.
What? It's a Mark Garland special. I don't know what you're talking about. AJ, who is the player that's been the biggest surprise so far this season for you?
Biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise.
I mean, God, that's a tough one.
It could be good or bad. You can say that somebody that's supposed to be good that's been bad, or somebody that's supposed to be bad that's been good.
I'm gonna go kind of a guy I was looking at to kind of be an X factor for a team, and that's Jack Caglione for Florida. I knew the talent was there. We saw last year he came in when he kind of got healthy at the plate, and they could hit like 10 or 12 home runs and like under 70 at bats or something like that. It was ridiculous. And then you heard about the arm talent, but it clicked. He was their Sunday starter. He absolutely shoved, and he's dropping tanks. That's the kind of help Florida needs to actually compete this year.
Yeah, that's exactly what they need. They're a good baseball team. They have a lot of front end pitching, but it's going to be interesting to see how that weekend rotation continues to work out. Waldrop's very good. I'm excited for that one. Alex, who's the most surprising player so far this season for you?
So for me, it's got to be Jared Wegner over at Arkansas. We were wondering, before the season started, who was going to kind of be their RBI producer. They lost a ton with, Caden Wallace gone, Jalen Battles gone, Robert Moore gone, all those guys. And who was going to kind of step up? And, between Wegner and Peyton Stovall, Wegner being kind of, to me, the bigger surprise, the transfer from Creighton. I mean, the guy's hitting over 400, and he's got 12 RBIs already on the season. He's just been a machine for them. And I saw him last weekend up in Arlington, and he impressed me a lot. He's got a lot of pop, and he's going to be a big bat for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what they need, and that's what they're going to have to have. They have to have those run-producing guys that they're missing from a season ago. I think the DVH is going to put together a team, and it's just going to keep building, but it's just going to take time here. Jake, most surprising player this year?
I kind of hinted on it earlier, but I think the combination of Boast and Warner, I mean, this was a team that was in the College World Series and seemed to always have the big at-bat. And this year, they're really not having competitive at-bats from what I've seen from games. Is it's a lot of strikeouts looking. It's a lot of not really hard-hit balls. So I'd like to be all, sunshine and roses, but I'll guess I'll kind of mellow everybody out a little bit.
You can't be all happiness all the time. we do have to have some picks on the other direction of this side here. Noah,
Just
who's
'cause-
the most surprising guy for you so far?
Well, it sounds like AJ took my guy with Jack Caglione, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it up, and I'm going to take AJ's guy. Braylon Wimmer has been a big surprise for South Carolina. I think AJ was talking about him before the season started and hit the nail on the head, but every time I'm tuning in, Braylon Wimmer is doing something. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's got a little bit more pop in his bat. 3 homers already, 12 RBI, he's batting 500 on the year. He's not even the best bat in the South Carolina lineup right now, and if that holds true, then they're in a really good position. But I'm really, really high on the way that the South Carolina has started, and it's because of Braylon Wimmer kind of taking that next step as a player.
Yeah, I admit I told AJ after week 1 I was wrong on my thoughts about South Carolina. I do think that they are actually a top 25 team. I like to see them moving forward. I was really worried about that lineup, and they have 100% proven me wrong that they can actually score runs and compete. The pitching staff was never a question mark. Let's be real. That pitching staff's elite. But the run producing was what was the worry for me. There's a lot of that this year in the SEC, though, where you don't know where teams are going to get runs. Other than LSU, the Tennessees are struggling. Arkansas is struggling. There's a lot of struggle for getting these runs across the board here. Even Vanderbilt has been struggling early. So it's going to be interesting to see what more guys can step up and really be elite here in the SEC. ACC scored a ton of runs, so they're no worry at all. The biggest surprise for me, even though it's not a surprise necessarily for me personally, was Trent Sellers at Oregon State. You know, a lot of people didn't know who he was coming and transferring after NAIA school, and he's been really good. He got his first win at Oregon State last night, so 12 strikeouts. Very excited to see him play well. So that was a surprise, probably for the audience, not necessarily for me. Who is the biggest team surprise? Noah, I'll let you start since you've been going last year a lot.
What a refreshing treat. I'm going to say Florida State. They've been a little bit of a turnaround team. You thought that maybe they would miss Parker Messick and Bryce Hubbard a lot more than they are. Playing not great opponents, but then they played TCU last night and dominated. TCU couldn't even get a base hit for a majority of the game. So a really great start for Florida State. We'll see how the rest of the weekend looks like for them, but they're going to be a top 25 team, at least to my ballot, if they take this series in Fort Worth.
Do you think that maybe this is Link Jarrett already making an impact that fast, like making this team competitive when nobody really had them in the top 25? Some people didn't have them in the top 50 programs this year. All of a sudden, now they're looking like they're going to be on the outskirts right there on the edge of 25. Do you think that's a lot of Link Jarrett there, Noah?
Yeah, it could be. There's a big fan of Link Jarrett in here who wasn't before we met him. That's you and me, Mark. But I'm a big believer in Link, and I wasn't expecting it to be right away. I thought there would be some struggles, but he did this at Notre Dame too. I think it's all in the culture. And, of course, that's always a term thrown around that we can't really touch or see. But there's something that flipped in that program, and it's working so far.
Yeah, he won us over down there in Omaha, and just a consummate professional. Like, going up and meeting him, I'm like, God, I really want to hate Notre Dame. But now he left, so now I can hate Notre Dame more. So it's great. It's good for me. It's good for college baseball if Florida State's back, because that makes a big deal there for being college baseball all over again. Jake, biggest surprise team for you so far, good or bad?
So if you remove their first game where they came out flat, I'm going to go with Vanderbilt. They really, really surprised me. I think I spent like 10 minutes of our first show just ranting about how bad Vanderbilt was, and they really showed me and have kind of shown out and won a lot of tough games. But I will say I am really impressed with the Tim Corbin staff. You know, for a shirt-tucked kind of guy, they are big energy. Anytime somebody gets a sacrifice bunt, it's almost like the guy hit a walk-off home run. They come out and cheer him. Their pitchers, when they do their polls in between innings, I mean, they look really, really sharp doing it, and it doesn't seem like they're dragging like some of the other teams I've seen that do it. And UCLA, they were kind of a team that I think a lot of us wanted to be good, and Vanderbilt kind of came out and punched him in the mouth on Friday night. And that was really the only bad thing Vanderbilt did last weekend was their Friday night guy. So it's very, very refreshing to see them do good.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see them shut out UCLA. That UCLA lineup is a lot of returning starters, a lot of guys that can come back and hit. And to be that unsuccessful was very surprising to me to look at that team. Alex, surprising team for you?
For me, it's got to be Mississippi State. I really thought they brought in a top 5 transfer class. They brought in a top 5 recruiting class. And I really thought that they were going to, really make a turn this year and really come back to kind of being the Mississippi State of old. But it has not played out that way so far this season. And, I think the Fire Chris Lemonis crowd is going to be getting loud here if they don't win this series.
It's got to be difficult when you see a team like Missouri, who is picked to be dead last in the SEC, is successful in 3-1, and you're sitting there as Mississippi State and you're getting blown out by teams like Arizona State's are in a rebuild mode. That's got to be very frustrating. And at home in front of the home crowd and just not playing good baseball. They have not looked like a good baseball team this whole season yet. I know a lot of us had them right on the edge of that top 25 here at the beginning of the year because of that transfer class coming in and the ability. But to be that bad early is really alarming for Mississippi State fans. AJ, biggest team surprise?
I'm going to go out to your side of the country. Stanford has looked a lot less dominant than we thought they would. They're 3-2. They played a very close series against Cal State Fullerton, which in all fairness is the team they should just blow out of the water. Their pitching hasn't been as sharp, which I think was their one question mark, at least from the starting pitching. They dropped a midweek game to Cal. They're in a kind of grinded out win against Rice. These are teams that they shouldn't be dropping games to, that they're in close competitive games. And I get it's baseball. It's going to go back and forth, but this isn't the Stanford team we thought we would see.
No, the offense is not as firepowery as we all thought it was going to be. They came out and they did score a lot of runs late in those games against Cal State Fullerton, but that Fullerton pitching staff was burnt out. Like first weekend you're coming out and then all of a sudden you're facing that lineup. They shut them down for the most part for a lot of that series. And even this first one against Rice, scoring 6 runs against a team that you should probably put up 15. The offensive firepower for Stanford has not been elite like we thought it would be. There's a lot of time. It's early in the season, but it's very surprising to see them not dominate like we thought. I think a lot of us had them going undefeated probably until league play, and they really haven't played that well at all. So going into Pac-12 play, it's going to be interesting to see how they can react. And the starting pitching has just not been good for them. My biggest surprise, I'm going to stick with it, Missouri. I mean, that's just a good Missouri ball club. They're playing good baseball right now. They're competing. They look like they belong in the SEC. But I'm going to be a little hesitant. I'm not going to say that they're a great team right now, but they are good, playing good baseball. So I'm very surprised and happy for Missouri, being a team that we thought was going to finish at the bottom of the SEC is very good at right now being 3-1. So we'll see what happens the rest of this weekend. All right. Do we have the slides for the pick'em, Alex? So those of you who know and follow the show, we do a pick'em every single year. We usually pick between 5 and 10 games. I think we had 6 games this week. We also had America's Vote. So if you haven't been paying attention, go on and go vote. Every single week, we're going to be putting these up. So we're going to have them up for you guys to go vote on. And we're going to put your pick up there. You're wrong here, but that's okay. There's a lot of times people can be wrong. We accept people who are wrong. We put Jake on the show, so it's all good. Maryland. Noah, tell us about this Maryland team. Why'd you take them over Ole Miss this weekend at Oxford?
Well, I was on the fence until I saw so many people just jumping all over, the Maryland sucks because it's from the Big Ten or whatever false narrative you want to lump Maryland in with the Michigan States of the world. Maryland has a very, very good pitching staff, not just a Friday guy, a pretty good Saturday guy too. Looking to develop that Sunday guy, and if they can, we're going to be talking about a top 16 seed for sure. They got up to a little bit of a slow start, so some people who are maybe a little bit more casual were saying they're overrated. But Maryland is a very, very good team. This is one that I think Ole Miss is going to have to get comfortable with because even after this, they do play Maryland again in the Cambria Classic. At this rate, they're going to lose all 4.
If there's anything right in the world, they'll lose all 4. Jake, why don't you tell us about this southernmost team, Maryland?
Of course, man. They're the pride of the South. They're kind of the most underrated team in the South, Maryland. For those geography nuts, they are south of the Mason-Dixon line, so they are considered Southern. And the reason that kind of threw me onto this Maryland train was the Hunter Elliott injury for Ole Miss. Anytime you lose a 3 guy, it take one of your top 3. It takes a little bit of time to kind of figure it out, and especially with somebody like Ole Miss, where he seemed to be the rock of their organization. I mean, I can't tell you how many students walk around campus with a Hunter Elliott mullet. So he looks to be one of the favorites. And that was kind of the difference for me. And the other thing too is everybody was so sure Ole Miss was going to blow them out. And, it kind of crept into the back of my mind. Where it's like, Mississippi State did really bad last year after their national championship. Is Ole Miss going to do for that as well? So that was what kind of threw me onto this. Is it Turpin or Terrapin?
Terrapin. It's a fancy turtle.
It's a fancy turtle.
Yep. AJ, what did you think about this Maryland pick here? How did you like this one? Is AJ frozen?
I think we lost AJ.
I think AJ's frozen here. He's got the funny picture up right now.
Alex, wondering.
Alex, tell us about your Maryland pick here.
Yeah, I just think that Matt Shaw is just such a great player, and especially with Savakul going on Friday and no Hunter Elliott for Ole Miss, and it just seemed like that Maryland was just going to be too much. And I really thought Ole Miss was going to underestimate him.
Yeah,
I said on Twitter that if Ole Miss, messed around, they were going to find out that who Maryland was, and they found out last night.
yeah. Maryland fans were not panicking about Savakul struggling there, and Savakul comes out and he just looked like Jason Savakul of old. So, AJ, you're back, Maryland.
Yeah, I had to leave when Jake said Maryland was the Southern state. That's just, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was touched upon during my little 30-second absence, but Matt Shaw might be one of the best hitters in America, and he's not the only weapon in that lineup. I think they led the country in grand slams last year, and there's a reason for that. A bunch of clutch guys who can just dominate a big moment. And we've seen Ole Miss struggle with teams that can come in and hit, and especially with the loss of Elliott, I think it was kind of a no-brainer for us.
Yeah, and Matt Shaw gets all the love, and we love him. He's going to be a top 5 MLB prospect. The guy's going to be a terrific shortstop. He's got a long, long future ahead of him. Luke Schlager at catcher is also an elite catcher at this level. He's going to be very good for Maryland, and I think that there's big things coming for them. I think if they can figure out a Sunday starter, like Noah said, that this Maryland team really is a top 8 team. I think that they're right there with the ECUs where they're playing for mid-majors and they're going to try to get into being a national host. So I like this team moving forward. I also hate Ole Miss, so take that, Ole Miss, down 1-0. I hope you get swept and get beat earlier and lose all 4. So on to the next one, Alex. Noah, did you take a split?
I did, because this is now a 2-game series.
Oh, what? They canceled the game?
I believe so, yes.
Oh,
I
okay.
hope.
Why was that long road trip back from Greenville
I
to
sent,
Chapel Hill?
I sent Alex my evidence that they canceled it, so
Okay,
I hope I'm right.
I'm going to believe you here. Tell us why you believe that right now they're going to split, so you have North Carolina winning today?
Yeah, could have gone either way when I put my pick in. Who wins game 1, who wins game 2, obviously. But, yep, I am looking right now. They did cancel today's game Saturday, and they're just not going to play it on Sunday. I don't know how that makes any sense, but yeah, give me the split. I like North Carolina. They're a very good team. So is East Carolina. You could argue North Carolina should have won last night, but then the home crowd kind of willed ECU to kind of come back and then hold on and win. So North Carolina is very close to winning last night, so I'm not worried about this one at all. Give me this.
Take the split. AJ, where are you at here? What are you thinking here with your pick as the North Carolina Tar Heels?
So I'm going to ask Noah a quick question. When did you figure out that there was not going to be a game today?
I got my picks in at let's see. Oh, I don't have a timestamp on this. It looks like 2:23 on Friday. So it was before the game. This is PM, but it was before the game started.
Yeah, I just think. Well, I thought UNC was going to take yesterday's game. They have a true number 1 guy on top of that rotation. I thought they were going to hold it down, and the bullpen just blew it. That raucous environment got to him, and I think he used like 5 pitchers in 1 inning, like something crazy like that. And then it's my heart said ECU, my head said UNC. For me, I picked UNC, but if ECU wins this series, it's a win in my book for college baseball.
It's like when you bet on a team that you think is going to win, but you hope the other team wins, so it's a win-win for your heart. I like that. I like where you're at with that one. Jake, you had North Carolina as well. Why?
I think I underestimated the power of the jungle. I mean, in their last 2 games, they've thrown beer at opposing players and had a fan fall onto the field. And that was something that I really didn't have on my bingo card. I definitely underestimated them. I thought from just a prestige standpoint that if UNC kind of expects to be in that next tier of ACC teams that's hosting super regionals, these are going to be the games that they kind of need to win. These are games that they should win. I know ECU is good, but they're not really recruiting at the rate UNC is. And if UNC wants to stop kind of being a big disappointment in the college baseball scheme, these are going to be the games that they have to win. And honestly, I'm kind of with AJ. I'm glad I was wrong on this one. ECU, this is great for college baseball, and a team like ECU goes in and beats North Carolina.
Love it, love it. Alex, you're an intelligent fellow. Tell America why we picked with them.
Well, I just think that the home field. I thought the home field crowd was just going to be too much. The ECU jungle is just insane, and I just thought that was going to be the deciding factor in this one.
Yeah, I had picked ECU because they're at home, and Cliff Godwin's a very good coach. He's a very talented coach. There's going to be a lot of programs that are going to try to steal him away from ECU. One of those could be Texas. They're going to be looking for a coach.
Mississippi
Maybe
State.
who knows?
Mississippi
And-
State. Arkansas
So-
after DVH goes to Mississippi State.
I know that people are going to be wanting Godwin, but America's right on this one. Good job, America. ECU over North Carolina all time. I didn't know it was a 2-game series, though, but I still like ECU to win tomorrow, I guess. They're not playing it all today. That's weird. All right. UCLA versus Vandy at Vanderbilt. You know what, AJ, I'll let you start here with this one because you took Vandy. You're looking pretty smart with that one.
Yeah, I just thought Vandy would, weirdly enough, be kind of overlooked by UCLA. Like, yeah, it's a good series, good team, but it's not Vandy teams of old. We saw a Vandy team play very, very well and also not up to their potential last weekend. So I think UCLA, coming across that road trip I thought it was going to be a tough series for them, and it definitely proved tough during a 6-0 shutout in Game 1.
Yeah, they're going to have to bounce back today if they want to take this series. They're going to have to really look a lot better with the bats. Not scoring is tough, especially on a road trip like this one here. Jake, Vanderbilt, why?
First, I had my Vandy shirt come in from Home Field Apparel, so I ordered it right after they won on Sunday. Finally came in. But the reason that I went with Vandy was I think that the cross-country road trip was going to kind of play into their hands. And the other thing, too, is Vandy's used to kind of playing in these bigger series. They seem to always be playing the tougher out-of-conference opponents, and UCLA really hasn't. And, I think we really want Vandy to kind of be back from a casual standpoint, that the Whistler, is going to reign supreme. And that's kind of why I went with Vandy, is I thought the cross-country road trip was going to be too much for UCLA.
Yeah, and they really do look like a Tim Corbin coach team. Like, they go out, they look sharp, they look like great in their warm-ups. They literally look like a professional baseball team. So I'm hoping that Vanderbilt is not all the way back, but I like them being back a little back. Noah, UCLA.
Yeah, I just thought that Vandy, if you can get to their starting pitching on night one with Carter Holton like TCU did, then maybe you're able to take 2 or 3 from them. This one, I really should have just sat down and thought about it more and say, yeah, UCLA might be too young for this kind of a road trip. Maybe if this were in May, it would be a little bit of a different story. But yeah, I still like the odds of UCLA maybe taking the next 2, but I'm not too happy with how last night went. I would have liked to see a run across the board.
Yeah, something. Punch back a little bit. I'd like to see something. That was a little frightening there for my pick at UCLA as well. Alex, UCLA.
Yeah, I was really high on UCLA coming into the season. I thought they were a dark horse to win the Pac-12, and I just was not impressed with what I saw from Vandy last weekend in Arlington. Their shortstop kind of kicked it around a little bit over the weekend. I think he had 3 errors on the weekend, and so I just thought that UCLA would be able to come in there and then and win. But yeah, I'm not feeling too great about that pick right now, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I picked UCLA. I thought maybe they'd be young enough to not care about traveling across the country and being in that Vanderbilt stadium there. I was wrong. They struggled Game 1. I'd like to see them bounce back today, maybe get that win and really push this thing to Game 3 and see where we're at there. So, America, you chose Vanderbilt. You might be right this time, but we'll find out here after the weekend. All right. Looks like we're split with smart people and dumb people. Let's start with Alex, who was on the wrong side of this one. Alex, Mississippi State.
Yeah, this goes back to kind of what I said earlier, where I just thought that Mississippi State was going to have a bounce back year. I didn't think Willie Bloomquist was ready to go on a road trip like this and win at a place, in Starkville. And, he proved me wrong last night. So hopefully Mississippi State can, get some pride going and put some games together.
Yeah, they're facing the Sun Devils, but not to put a thing. Lamona's has got to light a fire underneath this team. They got to get going. They got to get some passion for baseball right now, and they do not have it. AJ, Mississippi State.
I mean, it's very hard to win when your strike percentage is below 50%. I know a couple of Mississippi State pitchers have had trouble finding the zone, but not to that extent. I mean, us five could go and play a team, and if that team's throwing less than 50% strikes, we're gonna have a chance to win that game. That's absurd. That needs to change. If you want to look at a positive, the young arms are doing well. It's the experienced arms who can't find the strike zone. So maybe give those younger guys, it's like, hey, freshman lineup, go. Freshman pitchers, your turn. Show us what you got. Because they got the freshman talent there. Just questions of the returners, why aren't they performing?
Yeah, the returners and transfers are not really panning out right now for Mississippi State. We're hoping that they can bounce back because it is better for college baseball. Again, Mississippi State's one of those programs when they're good, college baseball thrives. Jake, I'm going to let you go because I know Noah really wants to talk about this Arizona State team. So I'm going to let Jake go first here with this Arizona State pick.
Of course, and I'll try not to steal a lot of your points here, Noah. I was really trying to use kind of my reverse jinx powers to doubt Mississippi State. Then hopefully they come out and play really good. But I mean, that is kind of worrisome if you're a fan that a lot of the guys that have been in Lamonis' system for a few years, they're kind of the ones that are letting your team down, and the freshmen are kind of the ones playing up into it. But I mean, I do have to give a shout out to the fans. It seems like despite what happened last weekend and despite what happened Tuesday, they still showed out. So it's great to know that they, didn't jet off to Memphis or New Orleans because there's really not that much to do in Starkville. But I'll let Noah kind of do all the points here, so I didn't steal any of them.
Noah, how about your forks up here?
Yeah, I'm so excited for the Forks. What a big win to start off this series. Hopefully they can win one or two more. Like I said, actually I didn't say it, but I'm going to have them ranked in the top 25 if they take all three. Might be a little bit too early for that, but I love this Arizona State team. When Arizona State is good, we are thriving, and we are right on the edge of thriving, folks. So this is just what a thrilling start. Obviously, it'd be great if Mississippi State could throw some strikes so we could really see what these bats can do. But Christian Curtis, I think he's going today. We'll see how he does. Big friend of the program. Really excited to see him pitch in that environment. Started A&M, so it shouldn't be too scary for him. We'll see. But Forks up.
Forks up. Yeah, I took Arizona State here as well. I just thought that Mississippi State's kind of playing boring, slow baseball right now, and they really didn't feel the way Arizona State feels like they're a team on the rise. Willie Bloomquist says these guys having a lot of fun. He seems to have put together the pieces of this transfer portal and made this team really gel as one. I didn't think he would go this fast and this early, but they look really good. I like what we're seeing here from Arizona State. I don't think they're going to be in my top 25, but you never know. Some things could happen this weekend that might change my mind. America, you picked wrong again. Mississippi State, they could take the next two, but you're still wrong, America. All right. Here we go, fellas. Who wants to start here with this one? Jake, why don't you start with this TCU Horned Frogs versus Florida State?
Of course. First, I want to go out and say that I think Mark just is so infatuated with Link Jarrett. That's why he wanted to pick Florida State and not necessarily the team themselves. But TCU was one of those teams that really impressed me. I mean, yeah, they lost to Missouri on Sunday, but the other two games they blew out Vandy and Arkansas, and blew them out late when they got into their bullpens. And I was really kind of expecting to see more of the same. And this is a rematch of a late season matchup last year for TCU and Florida State. And I think I was just so infatuated with Hypnotoad that I kind of got blinded by it and forgot how good FSU actually is.
You guys got bought into the hype, and you didn't see my little Link Jarrett heart locket that I'm wearing now. So thank you very much I'll keep that hidden. AJ, Horned Frogs?
I mean, I picked the Horned Frogs because I felt like Florida State has to play 3 really good games in order to win 2. And I felt like TCU only has to play 2 average games to win those 2. So even with dropping game 1 the way they did, it wouldn't surprise me if TCU responds with, double-digit runs today and tomorrow to take the series. Florida State definitely has the pitching talent. They have some. It seems like they always have some guys who just can shove. So if those guys shut down the TCU lineup, hats off to them. But TCU it's a difficult lineup to shut down.
Yeah, even after winning game 1, I'm still not 100% sold on my Florida State pick. I think it's still a coin flip here to win the next 2. Win one of the next 2, I should say. Noah, Horned Frogs?
Yeah, not Horned Frogs. A little bit disappointed in those Frogs last night. My ESPN app was acting up, so I was only able to watch ESPN Plus games last night after about like 7. So that was driving me nuts. But I was able to watch this one where TCU just couldn't do anything with the bats. So that really, really concerned me. Obviously, Florida State kind of a pitching academy a little bit, but these were guys we haven't seen before. These were some new faces. So it was a little concerning. Obviously, we love Link Jarrett, but I love Kirk Saarloos, so I still have a little bit of confidence that TCU can figure it out. But they're going to have to hit the ball to do that.
Yeah, they're going to have to hit a little bit better. But I think that this TCU team has the talent to do that and bounce back here. Alex?
Yeah, I think like Jake, I just became so infatuated with TCU in Arlington. They just looked so dominant. And so I just thought there was no way they were going to go get beat by Florida State. But, especially at home. But, they've got 2 more games to prove me right.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Like I said, I took Florida State. I really liked what I saw from the first weekend there with Link Jarrett. And I just thought maybe that the hype train was a little too high here on TCU early. TCU is a very good team. Saarloos, great coach. America, you picked wrong again. Surprise, surprise. All right, game 6, our last one of the pick'ems here. You know what? I'm gonna let you start, Noah, because you and I took USC, and I'm gonna let you say why you took USC here first.
Well, number one, what a cool baseball logo that USC has. I love when people have or schools have just baseball logos. That's really something. It'd be great if they could play the game of baseball, though. Let me down big time. They were supposed to host this series, which I knew that Auburn was hosting when I picked it, but come on. We're canceling because of inclement weather in California. This just shows how much money USC has, where they can say, yeah, you know what, we'll cancel our home series for weather. Let's go ahead and take a cross-country trip to Alabama. No problem. What a weird scenario this is. I think the weather kind of screwed us here, Mark. But we'll see if USC can take the next 2, or excuse me, USC can take the next 2, because I'm talking about USC, the only one. But not a great start. They fought a little bit. I think USC might be on their way back, but they're definitely not back.
Yeah, they're not back yet, but I do love where this coaching staff has taken this team, and they seem to compete. They had a couple runners on in the 9th inning, and they just couldn't make the comeback all the way. 5-3, they lost. We'll see. There's a lot of baseball here left. AJ, you took Auburn. Let us know why.
I did. Because Auburn, first of all, they're not playing USC. USC is playing Penn this weekend. And, I just, it's been so long since Southern Cal has been a baseball juggernaut. And Auburn, I think they were a little bit down this year compared to they were last year. But I just didn't see that Pac-12 team coming into an SEC environment and doing well, especially with the last-minute schedule change. I think it's where we truly see the gap between what I think is going to be an average SEC team this year and maybe a slightly below average Pac-12 team.
Yep, I don't disagree with that. I unfortunately picked this game before they got transferred over to Auburn, but Jake, go ahead and tell us about this Auburn game.
Of course, and Mark, I also think you picked this one with kind of your high school mindset of USC still being a baseball power. That was the issue. This one
I
actually,
was in
honestly,
middle school when they were good. I was in middle school when they were good. Jeez.
This one really wasn't that hard for me, if I'm being honest with you. I was a little surprised you actually put it on. Like, this was a very Auburn circle it in. I mean, most of USC's best players left, and that's never a good sign. And, it usually takes a little bit to gel, even if they get good recruiting classes. Yeah, I definitely just jinxed him, Noah. But when it takes a little bit, even when you're recruiting at a high level, it takes a little bit to gel. And having a cross-country road trip scheduled out of the blue is definitely something that's going to be sink or swim. And, I mean, this could be something that USC kind of looks back on as, they move up from, dead last to like 8th or 9th in the Pac-12. But I really don't see anything. And I think this kind of shows the difference between the haves and the have-nots. Auburn, especially with how Missouri's played, is looking like 12th or 13th in the SEC. And I think they kind of win this one handily.
All right, Alex, Auburn.
Yeah, I just this is more that I just don't believe in USC. Like, I just don't think that they're a good baseball program anymore. They've got a long road to climb back to where they were. And I know they've got all the national titles and everything, but it's been a long time since they were good. And Auburn's coming off a year where they were in Omaha last year. Yeah, a little bit down, I think, compared to that Omaha team, but they're still a really good program. And I just think that Auburn's just going to be too much for them.
Yeah, a couple of reasons here I took USC. One, I think I picked with my heart more on this one. I really just want USC to be good at baseball. Yeah, Jake, it was middle school, dick. I'm not that old. USC was just a powerhouse for a long time. It'd be really awesome to see them back with that new coaching staff. Pretty excited to see what they're doing. They're really moving the needle the right direction here. Also, I just like to see Auburn lose after knocking Oregon State out last year. So I think that was like a double heart there going for USC. Still a little bit of a chance here, but it was good to see the fight from USC and not just lay down last night. So I'm excited to see what this team has moving forward. Do we have those questions from fans on the YouTube? Remember, fans, if you go into YouTube, you can ask us questions live, and we will try to answer them at this point in the show every week. What do we have for questions? Is there a better starting rotation than the Florida Gators? I say no. But you know what? I'm going to let Alex go next because he's going to argue with me. Alex?
I mean, it's close, but I would take Tennessee. I would still take Tennessee's rotation over Florida's rotation. Tennessee's issues that they've had at the beginning of the season have been with the bats. And I mean, when you look at Maui Ahuna not in there, Mr. Merritt just getting back in, it's two of their best players, just getting going. But the strength of Tennessee is the pitching staff. I mean, Chase Dollander, Chase Burns, Drew Beam. I just don't think it gets better than that.
I can buy into what you're saying, but I still like Florida. AJ, is there another team maybe that might have a good pitching staff? Do you think? I don't know.
I mean, good pitching staff. Yes, there are a ton of teams with good pitching staffs, but I mean, Tennessee pitched well enough to beat those two very good teams in Grand Canyon and
Arizona.
Yeah, and so I just. No, until one of those guys, goes 4 or 5 starts and has an ERA that starts with a 4, I can't look at any other team as having a rotation that rivals them. You could make several other arguments in terms of, hey, this team has the talent too, but Tennessee also has the track record of those guys all having dominant seasons last year too.
Yeah, I thought you might go USC Junior here, but that's okay. I was trying to lead you that direction, but I get it.
I was waiting for it, AJ.
Jake?
I'm surprised Alex didn't go LSU, so I'll kind of slide in LSU here. They have a ton of talent. Obviously, Skeens has just a bevy of scouts at every single game that he pitches. And then a lot of their, other guys like Christian Little and Ty Floyd are really kind of shoring up the pitching staff. And honestly, this is probably a stretch, and I'm definitely jinxing them, but it feels like a major league bullpen. And that's something that we really don't see a lot in college, where it seems like bullpen guys are usually people that, aren't good enough to start. And LSU has a legitimate bullpen in college baseball. And I think that's something that a lot of people are kind of discrediting for LSU. But I think that Florida, Tennessee, and obviously LSU, they're really, really close. And depending on how injuries go and who kind of rises and who falls, you can almost pencil one of those 3 in.
Well, Jake, the question was starting rotation, but thanks for the insight into the bullpen.
Oh, man.
I appreciate that.
Well, they feel like starters, though. They were starters at other schools.
Noah, do you have a team that is better than the Florida Gators?
I think they're right on par with Maryland. I think Jason Savacool, Nick Dean, and Nate Haberth are a little bit of a great strong 1-2 punch with that third. That maybe that spot's open up for grabs, but they've got a guy in there right now. Florida, it's just too early to tell on that staff, and same for Maryland really in terms of that Sunday starter. But when you look at teams like Tennessee, they have that one locked in. So I think that there's always going to be that step above when you have those guys where we know who are pitching on any given Sunday. That's a huge thing, especially when it comes a long way from now, NCAA tournament time. You know who you're pitching and when. In Florida, you can't really say that right now.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch of Florida is good, but I think that you guys are right here with the Tennessees and the LSUs might be just right there because of the third starter. So I like Florida. I like what they're doing here, but I think Tennessee is the best 3-man rotation for the weekend. I know Texas Tech has quite a few new guys, but aren't they better than number 24? Molina is the backbone of Texas Tech pitching staff. Boy, Jake, why don't you take this one?
Of course, Texas Tech is kind of right in my backyard, and they do kind of feel a little bit better than 24, if I'm being honest with you. And I had them ranked a little bit higher, kind of in that 18 range. but especially with how Texas and Texas A&M and even TCU to some extent, it's really Lamar and Texas Tech, I think, are the two best teams of Texas, which some might say is even harder than being the best team in like other conferences. So I think Texas Tech is better than 24, but again, I don't really think they should get that much credit for beating a northern team their first time down south early in the season. Like, it's one thing to beat Gonzaga at the end when they figured it out, but Gonzaga's not outside doing base running. They're not outside doing PFPs and stuff like that. So it's almost like it should be worth like almost like half a win. Like, it was a good win. Like, don't get me wrong, but they had more like practice time, so it's really like not that impressive.
Yeah, it's a cool 12 degrees up there in Spokane today. So, yeah, a little tough up here in the Northwest to get those practices in. Noah, what do you think about Texas Tech, and do you think that they should be higher than 24?
I 100% believe they should be higher than 24 because we have them ranked 23rd. So I think that really, really plays a role in the fact that we do have them higher than 24. But I will tell you that I am a little bit skeptical of this Texas Tech team. That Gonzaga series, they looked mighty impressive, but now Gonzaga is losing to Grand Canyon, who Grand Canyon has beat some good teams, only one, but we'll see on Texas Tech. I'm a little bit skeptical of a team that looked so bad last year that's now all of a sudden kind of looking good. It's very, very early, so I think they're appropriately ranked in that kind of low 20s.
Yeah. AJ?
It always seems like Coach Tadlock gets the most out of his team and then more. And to start off the season 5-0, it doesn't matter who you play. To start off the season 5-0, you'll take that any day of the week. So, are they better than the mid to high 20s? Probably, but we can't exactly reward them for doing what they should do. But we're not going to penalize them because their competition hasn't lived up to early season tournaments that other teams have been playing, or like a UCLA Vanderbilt series. Like, we're not going to penalize them. They're a team that if they continue to play like they're playing against better competition, they're going to prove that they're probably one of the top 15 teams in the country.
Yeah, I think it's just going to play out. It's going to take time. Alex, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think they need some time, like you said. They're gonna come along. They've had some really good showings, and that's why they're in the top 25 to begin with. And I think we have them in a good spot at 23.
Yeah, I think that they're where they should be, Jared. Thanks for the question. Really appreciate it. I just don't see them moving up until we get to about Big 12, unless they go undefeated all the way until Big 12 play. I just don't see them moving up a ton because the competition they play early in the season is just not great. So that's where I have them at. I have them at 23, I believe, as well. So, AJ, we're going to get to some directed questions here. I got directed questions for each one of these guys. We're going to get through them really fast. We got about 7.5 minutes left. Wake Forest, ? Yeah, they're our school. AJ, is Tennessee still a top 5 team? And can we just relax on this? Like, why is America hating on Tennessee other than they're easy to hate on?
I mean, they're hating on Tennessee because it's fun to kick people while they're down. And Tennessee feels like they're a little down right now. But like we mentioned earlier, the pitching staff's still been shoving. They've lost just some really close ball games, and that's because the offense hasn't produced, and that's something we didn't see last year. So people are freaking out of, the offense isn't the same. We knew it wasn't going to be the same. We knew they weren't going to be the juggernaut last year. It's still a very good offense. Guys like Blake Burke and Jared Dickey are kind of getting their feet under them, stepping into that everyday role. And the identity is starting to establish itself. It's not going to be the same, like I said, juggernaut of last year's team. It's still going to be a very, very good team. If you want to bump them out of the top 5, I'm fine with that, but they're still a top 10 team in the country.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I mean, I think, like I said, I wrote this question. I wrote relax in all caps, people, because I think people are just freaking out a little bit. They have 3 major league arms going for their weekend rotation. They're going to be fine. They're going to be a top 5 team by the end of it. I just need to sit down and say, relax, people. Stop freaking out about Tennessee. They'll be fine. All right. Easy one here, Noah. How elite is ECU? We love them on this program. How elite can they be this year?
I think this is the year that they break through and go to Omaha. I think their team, it feels like every year they have this special team, and then it feels like they lose a little bit, and then we just immediately jump back on the bandwagon, and it does feel like that. Bryson Worrell was so good for him last year that I thought last year they had all the secret sauce. This year we'll see who steps up and kind of fill those roles. Moreland has been great for him, a lot of returning talent. Jacob Jenkins-Coart, big player for him. That starting pitching might leave a little bit to be desired right now, but they seem to develop those guys throughout the year. We'll see. I think East Carolina got up to a great start by beating that North Carolina team. They did stumble in the midweek. We can't forget that one. But we'll see. I think that this is going to be a special year. 23 is a significant number in Greenville.
Yeah, to me, midweek games only hurt high-ranked programs. They don't ever seem to help high-ranked programs. It just seems like a deterrent for them to play anybody during those midweek games. But I still like elite. I still believe that ECU is elite. I love where they're going. Again, Cliff Godwin, big fan of the program. We love him. So moving forward, I think that they're going to be a top 8 seed, hopefully. Jake, here's an easy one for you as well. How broken is Texas? How do they fix this?
I think that they're not necessarily broken yet because, I mean, they still have Lucas Gordon that's going to bail them out in just about every game he pitches. But, Mitchell Daly's actually the leading hitter. I'll have to check the stats because I looked at that yesterday, but he was the leading hitter on Texas. And that's a very, very worrisome thought, especially because he was kind of struggling to get at-bats last year. But he did have a little bit of pop in the fall, so I guess that isn't too worrisome. But, I mean, last night, they almost should have lost the way that the game kind of went. Porter Brown hit a 3-run shot, and they win by 2. And it's very, very worrisome. They're going to have to get more from their Saturday guy. They're going to have to get more from their Sunday guy. They're going to stop having to kick the ball around because there aren't a ton of arms behind their starters. So it's going to be weird because it's Indiana, so they're probably going to beat up on Indiana. But you still kind of have to have that thought in the back of your mind of, we went 0-3 in 2021, still made Omaha, but they looked really, really bad.
They do, and they're really struggling right now. New coaching staff, new players. It looks like not an Omaha-like team, but there's a lot of time left. I think people are panicking on Texas, but Texas fans certainly are. They're already calling for changes, so we'll see what happens there. Alex, Maryland Ole Miss is the big series this weekend that we're all hyped about. Is this bigger for Maryland or worse for Ole Miss if they lose?
I think it's bigger for Maryland. It's Maryland coming down to really, plant their flag as one of maybe the top 8 teams in the country, and as be a big, RPI booster for them. You think about down the road, we're trying to get one of those top 8 seeds, and just really cement themselves as one of the top programs in the country to go down to the defending champ and beat them in their house. I think that'll be huge for them.
Yeah, I think that it's big for Maryland, but I also think that this kind of proves where Ole Miss is. People thought they were really high on Ole Miss. Congratulations, you beat Delaware. You built a Southern team according to Jake, but Delaware not good. So we shouldn't be surprised that Ole Miss went and beat them. I think that they're going to struggle here for a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see. I think this is a bigger series for Ole Miss fans to realize that they're not good. Take that, Ole Miss. Do we have 2 more questions? We got like 2 minutes left here. Let's see if we can crank them out. Best home run celebration, dugout, or bullpen? Which celebration is better? Love Texas Tech home run celebration with the bullpen jumping on the wall. Boy, we got some Texas Tech love. I'm going to say that I like when the home run celebrations. I like home run celebrations in the dugout. Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to say in the dugout too. We haven't seen many home runs from LSU yet this year. They're coming, but they haven't seen very many yet. And, Crunk ain't dead.
AJ, dugout or bullpen?
I mean, I love a good bullpen one. Like I love the Texas Tech. I love when there's like the high five circle or the conga line, just because you can see more of it. So I'm gonna go with the, because you can't use props on the field now. I'm going to go with bullpen because it's more visible.
Agreed. It is a stupid rule. We need to bring back all the props. Jake?
I like the Virginia Tech hammer pantomime that they do. Like as soon as they get it, they like fake hit it. That's my favorite one. So definitely on the field. And I get why they did the rule because actually it was explained to me, well, in theory, you could like go out on the field. So that's why they kind of wanted to limit it in the dugout. But I do like how they get a warning so they can really do it once. So if you only hit one home run, you get to do the home run celebration.
Noah?
Yeah, I think it was last week that Jake said that the Texas Tech dugout celebration was kind of the best one left because there are no props. But then Virginia Tech used the prop anyway. So now I'm back. I'm back on the dugout celebration. So whichever the NCAA doesn't shut down, I guess.
NCAA, we hate you. You're like Ole Miss fans. Do we got time for one more question? Wake Forest. Yes, we do like Wake Forest. Nick
we already
Kurtz,
did this one.
We like Wake Forest. Nick Kurtz, they got all the talent in the world there. They got 2 frontline starting pitchers for the ACC. I don't think there's anything else. Who remains undefeated the longest in the SEC? Ooh,
not LSU, because they're going to lose today.
LSU's going to lose today.
Bold words.
Wow. I was going to go LSU, but AJ, really quick.
So just so you all know the options, the 3 undefeated teams left are South Carolina, Alabama, and LSU. So I'm going South Carolina for obvious reasons.
Obviously. Noah, so which one of the 2 are you picking?
Give me the Cox. I don't think the Tide are that good. Go Cox.
All right. Jake?
I'm going to go with the Tide, not because I think the Cox are bad, but Alabama's schedule is laughable. They play Jacksonville State, Illinois, Chicago, Stanford, Alabama State, and Columbia before they play.
Did you just sneak Stanford in there?
Sam.
Okay.
You know, the home of Sonny DeShera.
Alex?
Stanford.
I mean, it's LSU, right? It's got to be LSU.
LSU. LSU's the answer. America, hopefully you can pick better next week. Thanks for joining us again here, College Baseball Central and the weekend rotation. Alex, Jake, Noah, AJ, and myself, we thank you. CBC 15, you use that at Home Field Apparel. Go get 15% off. We'll see you next week.